And so what we want to do today is just really unpack this conversation about what consensual sales even means and what that means for you and your business in 2020 and beyond, and how you can infuse that into your messaging. Brittany is an expert when it comes to turning your passion and your purpose and your brand into a message that lands with the people you're meant to connect with. So I'm really excited to get started and kick this off with you today, Britt.
Thank you, Ashley, for that beautiful intro. So let's just dive straight in and talk about, first of all, what consensual sales means, because I thought everyone knew what this meant, but apparently not. So Ashley, what does consensual sales mean for you?
To me, consensual sales is really, I think of it as very relationship based. And I use that as a metaphor because consensual sales is when two people or more than two people, you and your clients, the people that you're speaking to, are fully aware that there is an exchange of energy happening there. And selling doesn't always necessarily have to mean the exchange of money for your product or service, right? Sometimes selling is an exchange of, clarity in exchange for support with decision making. Sometimes it is providing value in exchange for trust, right? I think we need to come out of this like one size fits all approach to like, I'm just going to force this on you and I'm taking something from you way of thinking of sales, and see it as a relationship where two people are active participants and there's just this constant exchange of energy. And I'm really curious, Britt, what it means for you.
Yeah, I love the way you described that. So for me, consensual sales, it really starts at the beginning of that relationship, and that can just be becoming friends with someone online or in person, and then moving into maybe a discovery call to see what it's like to work with the person, and then the phase when you're actually working with the person. And for me, I really kind of over the past year dismantled this hierarchy of like, I have the answer and you don't. Like, I'm above you, you're below me. And I think where we can sometimes cross a line is when, and this is where kind of like pushy sales comes in, because I believe, and I feel this might be an unpopular opinion, but I believe that we're sovereign enough to make our own decisions and believe in ourselves. And our coach or our mentor is just there to guide us. They're not the God with the answer. And so sometimes people are hesitant to go into discovery calls or sales conversations because they don't want to feel like they're going to be pushed if they know their answer is unsure or maybe no. And in sales, we're often taught, just get to the finish line, like just get them to get the credit card out. So for me, it's really just being in consent with that person. And again, once the coaching or consulting relationship begins, really honoring that person as well. Like, I don't want to say having their permission, but I think it is important when especially when you're doing personal development work, that they are in consent with, maybe some deep aspects of their life that come up that they didn't know would come up. So,
yeah. I'm really curious because I'm all about tangible takeaways as well. Like, what's one way that you've really implemented that what you're saying there? Like, how have you implemented the process of consensual sales in your business? Like, for example, just to give a tangible and kind of start this off on my foot, is you mentioned discovery calls. And for me, I call my discovery calls compatibility calls, because that's what I believe it is. Like, we're really just there to see, like, are we a fit both ways? I'm in total agreement with you that I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. I believe that everybody also is sovereign enough to make their own decisions. We're just there to see if what you're going through right now is a match for what I offer, the solution that I provide. And so I'm very clear in a way that I've implemented consensual sales before people even get on the call with me. They know that on that form they're filling out to book that call with me, here's what we're going to be talking about, right? We're going to be talking about what challenges you're experiencing right now in your business. We're going to come up with a couple of action points for you. And if and only if it's a good fit, we will explore how you and I can work together in a one-to-one or group coaching experience. So it's explicitly known to them when they come to that call that if it's a good fit, we'll be having a conversation about working together, regardless of what their decision is.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, how have you implemented some consensual sales strategies in your business?
Yeah, I love everything you just said. And I think that I've always had issues with consent. So I've always been very clear in expressing things. And especially even with my own clients, like if you're going to offer a free complimentary call, make it clear that you're just going to provide value. If you're going to offer a conversation to see what it's like to work with the person, then make that clear. And so for me, there's been times in my business where I'll just generously give, maybe 5 sessions a month, just to help someone out. But I let them know in advance, like I will not be sharing my program with you unless, of course, they would ask me. But I think that it puts people more at ease when they're going to the call because there's such blurred lines and words are used interchangeably: connection call, discovery call, sales call. The person doesn't know what the expectation is. So they might be thinking, okay, I'm hopping on this call to get to know someone, but I'm not ready to invest. And a lot of times people are actually disempowered and they don't know how to say no. And that's why they fear the sales call, because they just don't know how to politely say, this isn't for me, or I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've definitely been in those shoes before as the client coming to the call and like said yes. And we even talked about this on our podcast episode where like I've made like 5-figure investments because I didn't know how to say no, right? Because I wasn't sovereign, because I wasn't in my power.
Yeah.
I either believed that person had all the answers or I felt backed into a corner.
Yep. Yeah. And if you guys, it's episode 22 on the podcast. And I think both of us actually share my 5-figure investment debacle. I'm pretty sure you share some of yours. And it literally was because I got on a call and I didn't know everything you just said. And I ended up signing up. So, yeah. So I have another question for you.
Yeah.
How can we, oftentimes people talk about, like, what's their pain point? We're all about the freaking pain points. And obviously there's some truth to this, but I'm wondering if you have an opinion on, is there a different way that we could approach this? I have a very strong opinion, but I want to hear what you think first.
Okay, yeah, no. I mean, of course, understanding all of the nuances of the people that we want to work with is really important. A component of that is the pain point, whatever that means. Like it's what they're struggling with. It's what's holding them back most from what they most want to accomplish and where they most want to be, regardless of that's with their health, with their finances, with their brand, with their business. Everybody's got that point of discontention, right? And there's absolutely a way in which we as the service providers, as the business owners, can go about communicating that in our sales pages, in our emails, in our Instagram posts, in our videos. That doesn't make it feel like, or it doesn't make our clients, potential clients, feel like they're wrong for experiencing for what they're experiencing, right? Because listen, the reality that we live in is subjective. Everything is subjective. Things only get meaning that we apply to it, right? And so there's no need to shame people in order to get them to take action to work with you. There is a way that you as a business owner can and should find a balance of talking about your client's current experience in a really ethical way. And that has nothing to do with these like bro-ish marketing styles that are very pushy, that are very forceful, that are very masculine. Honestly, let's come out and say it. And that make them feel shame for where they are. And that balance is having empathy for where your client currently is and providing them the solution they need from a place of integrity.
Yeah.
You're never going to force something on somebody, right? You can't force anybody to do anything. And that's not what sales is. It's service. And you're not going to be selling to everybody and anybody. You're going to be providing that solution from a place of integrity to those who are ready for it, who
Yeah.
consent to being ready for it, right?
Yeah.
And it's very easy to communicate that in your message. And I find even incorporating more of your clients' pleasure points, like if we're going to talk about pain points, like let's also talk about pleasure points. And a way that you can do that is honestly just be a living embodiment of your work. Be the living embodiment of your work. Set that example for your client that it's possible to achieve what it is they want to achieve. And you don't have to constantly talk about the pain in order to do that. Does that make sense?
Totally. And something that I had realized in the past few months is I think that it's important to speak to the higher vision of like what it is. So the pleasure points, I call that higher vision of, what it is they want to accomplish, because this isn't always the case, but sometimes if you're constantly speaking to pain points, then you're going to bring in people that are in pain and suffering. And not to judge anyone, but there are some people that stay in that victim archetype or that victim pattern. But here's the thing that I learned is that yes, as a mentor or a coach or a consultant, we can hold the mirror back to them, but they're on their own path. And whether you believe in God, spirit, whatever, their journey is unfolding the way it should. And this is where we knock down the hierarchy, because we aren't God. We don't have the answer. And maybe we know that we can help them. Like we know that, but maybe they're just not ready. Maybe it's not on their path yet. And they don't always know how to articulate that. So I believe in giving people the right to self-sabotage. That's my unpopular opinion.
I love that. I love the way you worded that. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. So another question that came in was, just referencing the thing here. What did it say? They asked about just connecting with people authentically online, and this kind of like markety thing where you add someone and then you immediately send them a message. I know this person really wanted to understand, like, does this work? Is this what we should be doing, or is there a better way? What are your thoughts?
Well, listen, I think that it can work. There's a way to do this, right? There is a way to do this. And I'm sure the first thing that came to your mind, and everybody is watching your mind as well, is that generic copy and paste message that we've all received upon connecting with someone on Instagram, LinkedIn, here on Facebook, wherever it may be. It happens almost instantaneously, which automatically makes you feel like this is not a real human connection.
Yeah.
And so how can we then take that and use that, because it's a tool. The instant messaging tool on all of our social platforms is very effective. It's a way for us to connect one-on-one with people. Now, we don't want to do that in a way that is copy and paste, that makes it feel robotic, that makes it feel like there's not a human being on the other side of that. This is about relationships, right? It's just like we were talking about with consensual sales. This is about building relationships. So when you connect with somebody, let's say, for instance, here on Facebook, why don't you, instead of jumping into their DMs and copying and pasting that message that you have saved over on your notes app, instead take a couple of minutes to go through their body of work, to visit their website, to go through their profile, especially on Facebook where people share a lot more of their personal life. Like, get to know them a little bit and find even just one thing that stands out to you about them, that you admire, that you love, that you feel you can actually relate on, and send them a message about that. And open the conversation and make them feel safe to talk about that thing that they love. Don't go into it with the intention of, I'm going to sell this person on something, whatever it may be. Go into this as, I'm so happy and grateful to have made a connection with this person. I want to nurture this relationship regardless of the outcome.
Yeah. I love that you brought this up, and I want to share something that happened to me recently to illustrate, again, why people are hesitant to connect online. It's almost like we fear, or we're hesitant, or we're like, ugh, like when someone unknown messages you. I don't know if you've had that reaction before.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I had someone recently message me, and it didn't even say, hey, name. It was just like, hey, here's my group info. So I decided to take the time and respond and was like, hi, I'm Brittany. Nice to meet you. And I explained a little bit about myself, and I just said it doesn't really feel that nice to receive a copy and paste message.
Yeah.
They responded with a voice note completely on the defense, how their work has changed the lives of so many. And I didn't end up responding. They ended up blocking me, but I just goes to show when people are really being authentic. So I think for me, if you're going to do this strategy, like you said, Ashley,
Yeah.
be real. Just be real.
Yeah. Honestly, just think of it like you're at a party. You're at somebody's house party. Did we talk about this in our episode? I can't remember if we did. The house party metaphor is like ringing a bell to me, but think of it like you're at a house party. Are you going to kick down the door and be like, hey, everyone, I've got this thing that you need that's going to change your life. You're going to have 50 eyes on you. Just who are you? What are you doing here? Versus if you're the person to just come into the party and find the people that are maybe off in the corner, like the wallflowers, or the people who aren't in large groups, being social butterflies, and you take the time to make a one-on-one connection with them. How different is that energy? And listen, everything is a game of energy, regardless of your belief system. Everything is a game of energy. It's the reason that you feel gross when you receive those copy and paste messages versus a message from someone who says, wow, I noticed that, a month ago, you and your family took a vacation to Italy. Travel's on my mind right now, guys. I can't help it. But you and your family took a vacation to Italy. I was there last year and went to this spot. Did you get a chance to go there? What was your experience like? How much better does that feel to you? Because you're not sitting there on the other end of it like, oh God, here comes the sales pitch. You're like, here comes somebody who actually took an interest in me and my life, and I want to talk to them.
Yeah. I love this. So wrapping up, 2 final questions, but I just wanted to invite the viewers, if you haven't yet listened to this podcast episode number 22, so many people have been DMing me, PMing me about it. It's really such a spectacular episode. That's the word that comes to mind. So head on over to iTunes or Spotify, the Brand Interrupted podcast, Ashley Perkins, episode 22. I hope it's 22.
It is.
Okay.
It is. You're right.
So 2 final kind of rapid fire questions, just to be mindful of time. The first one was, how do you address objections without employing scarcity tactics, exploitation, or codependency? We kind of touched on this, but more so in the terms of someone having an objection. Or what's your opinion on objections? That could be even more.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to suggest that people listen to the podcast episode for a much more in-depth conversation about this, but just for a rapid fire answer, possibly also an unpopular opinion, I believe there aren't objections. There are limiting beliefs that, again, people have the right to, as you said, if you aren't ready to shift that, to overcome that, then that's okay. Us as the service provider, our responsibility is to hold space for that, right? Whether you choose to see it as an objection, whether you choose to see it as a limiting belief, whatever you want to view it as, it's your job to hold space for it and to get to the root of it with your client, but it's not your job to fix it. It's not your job to force them into anything that they're not ready for. It's, as Brittany says, just your job to hold up the mirror for them and show them where they're at and invite them, if they're ready, to make a decision to either shift that and take action and do something differently, or to remain where they are. But it's not your job to be attached to what their decision is.
Yeah. And this leads so beautifully into the last question, which was, and I'll add to this, but someone asked, how do you not feel anxious while waiting for a client to make payment or potentially being ghosted? And I wanted to share, just to follow up on what you just said, something that I always say to people, whether it be clients, friends, people, just anyone, is you'll succeed even without my help. Like, you'll succeed no matter what.
Mhm.
And I actually just had a discovery call and a few days ago, and that was something that I said to them. I said, I would love to accompany you on this journey. I think that no matter what, like, you're going to follow your path. I would love to be on that journey with you.
Yeah.
But for coming from the business owner perspective, like, how do you kind of navigate this? Some people, myself included, have felt anxious when someone maybe says yes on the phone and then doesn't follow through.
This might be super triggering, but I've done a lot of work around this. I still can vividly remember being very attached to the actions people took either there on a discovery call or after a discovery call, and can remember sitting on it and thinking, you know, are they going to do it? Are they going to sign up? And you're refreshing your PayPal account, waiting for that deposit to come through or the payment to come through. Okay, like, we've all been there. I'm at a place now where I have the hindsight to say, and I want to echo what you say, we will succeed regardless of what their decision is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's not that person, it's somebody else. And when you, again, as I was saying, everything's a game of energy. And when you can just allow yourself, regardless of how hard it is at first, to just sit in that place of non-attachment, knowing that they're going to make the decision that is best for them, and you honor and respect that, and that you will be successful no matter what that decision is. You don't spend your time refreshing your PayPal account and waiting for the email to come through. You continue showing up and being of service, because, like I said, if it's not that person, there's so many other people out there who need you, and it's your job to show up for them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the last thing that I would add to that is another conclusion I came to is because some people talk about taking payment on the phone, which is not something I ever have done or ever will do. But I realized, like, again, coming back to sovereignty and empowered clients, like, the type of person I want to work with, if they can't get off a discovery call and go and sign up, then I don't really want to work with someone, because that can echo what the actual potential relationship may be. And I like to work with empowered people and to empower them to step into their highest version of themselves, whether that be in their business or their branding. So, yeah.
I totally agree. I think that was beautiful. Beautiful way to wrap it up, Britt.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashley, for being here. You are just, I don't even think we got into the details of, like, what you do, but Ashley has, so Ashley's exclusively on Instagram. So I'm going to drop her link in the comments, and her Instagram, like, it's so beautiful. There's so much knowledge and resources. If you just scroll through, you can get a whole business lesson. She's also very well informed on human design. So any human design people here, we also extensively talk about this in episode 22 of the podcast, how to market and the difference between if you're a projector or a manifesting generator. There's huge differences on how you show up online, your energy. So Ashley, thank you so much for being here. I'm so
thank you so much for having me. It's my absolute honor, and this was so much fun.